so much, everyone. Thanks for being here. It is so nice to be sweaty in the high dive with you guys again. I've really, really missed this. Thank you for being here. It is July 22nd, 2021, and that means absolutely fucking nothing. We've been living in a black hole for a year and a half. Time has no meaning at all. Like, if you came up to me and you're like, dude, it's November 18th, 2020. I'd be like, yeah, 100%, that checks out. That's what the date is. I have no idea anymore. But then again, if you came up to me and you were like, the year's 2029, and you have to go outside and recite the Pledge of Allegiance loud enough for the neighborhood compliance officer to hear us, lest we be made to toil in the Kushner salt flats again. I'd be like, yeah, that totally checks out. That sounds about how things are going. I can see this winding up there. These are anxious times. And I've been feeling them pretty hard, especially right at the start of the pandemic, because we have no idea where this thing's going. Still, we're in the clear, we're gathering. I don't fucking know, maybe. We have no idea where this is going. And that makes everyone really anxious, because as humans, we like to have a bit of an idea what's going to happen. I mean, sure, sometimes we're like, Jesus Christu, you take the wheel. But not really. We want to know. And we don't know anything. And it's been hitting me hard. So, like, right when the pandemic started, I started doing this thing. I wake up every morning, and I make the bed. And I never did that before. And I know it just seems like trivial and insignificant, but in this sea of chaos, I wake up, and I make the bed, and that's one thing I can control. The bed is made. And then, once I've made the bed, I just lay out the suit that I'd like to be buried in. Right where I sleep, and I stare at it for a good while. And I match the socks to the tie. Orange and blue, Broncos fan literally for life. I love the woos at the end of that. I'm like, I'm pretty existentially fucked up. You're like, yeah, but Broncos still cool, right? Hey, how about them Broncos? Yeah, that was the point of that joke. If you had to fuck one Broncos quarterback all time, who would it be? You know what's funny? How ready men are to answer that question. At all times. Homophobia is rampant. You ask them which quarterback they want to fuck, like, I have an answer immediately! I play this game on Sunday, I literally draft these men in my fantasies. The only correct answer is John Elway. He's conservative, he has terrible teeth, and it doesn't matter. He's the only one you'd fuck, but Jake Plummer is that dirty little secret that we all... Yeah, he's a bad boy! He's a bad boy! It's the only other acceptable answer. If you have any homophobic friends in your life, ask them which NFL quarterback they'd like to fuck, problem solved. This country's so fucking divided, and I'm tired of fighting my countrymen. I want to get back to rooting for the same team. We need an emergency Olympics tomorrow. You guys are like, Adam, the Olympics literally start tomorrow. I don't care. When that finishes, we need another one out the gates. Because the Olympics is the only time I even feel a tinge of patriotism. I mean, look at me. I'm up here, I'm firmly in my political lane, and I'm not deviating at all. I'm not helping. And I'll tell you what, if a truck passes me in the other lane, I'm just like, oh man, this guy better have the right fucking bumper stickers. Or I will continue to stew in my nonviolent resistance. I swear to God, do not make me keep stewing in this, because I will stew further. But you give me a pairs figure skating team punching above their weight on the international stage with my country's flag on their back, and I'd proudly stand up next to you and defend her to this day. Just a Mormon brother and sister team from Utah. You're doing it, Carrie and Jerry! You got the weight of the nation on your back! We believe! But we're so divided, we could fuck up the Olympics. I guarantee we could fuck up the Olympics. Like if Tanya Harding did what she did to Nancy Kerrigan today, half the country would be like, I don't know, man, I kind of like this Harding person. I kind of like where she's coming from, dude. She shoots from the hip, man. She shoots from the hip, she's fiery. She learned how to figure skate in a mall, dude. That's a real American, all right? Oh, you've never wanted to club your coworker in the knee? Just me then. Okay, just me. My bad. Team Harding, dude. Team Harding all the way. How do you reach those people? How do you reach hashtag Team Harding? It's impossible. Because at some point in this country, 30 to 40% of people stopped believing in science and facts. Straight up. How do you argue with them? I don't know. And I've been trying to think about when that happened. And I'm pretty sure it's when they took Pluto away as a planet. I think when they took Pluto away, about half of the country's like, well, I'm fucking walking. Pluto's not a planet, I'm done. I'm done with the whole conversation. And I understand that completely. I'm a college-educated person, and when they took Pluto away, I was like, oh, so you're just making it up as you go along? It's Christmas morning. Why would you gift me this bag full of lies? That's what I thought. Imagine what some dude with an 8th grade education who gets all his news from Facebook thought when they took Pluto away as a planet. That guy knows like 10 things for sure. And they just took one of them away. And you want to sit that guy down and talk to him about reduced carbon emissions and Washington, D.C. statehood? He's not equipped to handle it. That guy's like, what? Pluto's not a planet? Okay. Global warming is fake, Earth's flat, I'm only wearing camouflage for the rest of my fucking life. If you need me, I'll be at the Bass Pro Shop checking the taxidermy for accuracy. They'll get lazy if you let them. They'll get real lazy. They'll put a marmot with a mule deer. I ain't never seen a mule deer above the timberline. If we want to get those people back into the conversation, we got to extend an olive branch, man. We got to go to them, hat in hand, and be like, listen, we were 100% wrong about Pluto. That is our bad. It is definitely still a planet, and that was our mistake. And you were right, and we were wrong, and you're so smart, and we're so very stupid, and we apologize to you. And then we open up all the convention centers all over the country, and we fill them with colored pencils and paper and styrofoam balls and paint. And we invite these people in, and we're like, every map of the solar system is now completely wrong, and it's up to you guys to correct the narrative. Draw it how you remember it, and we'll put them up in all the schools. They'll be like, fuck yeah, they'll start drawing it, and while they're doing that, we sneak into their houses, and we take all their guns. Fox News was right, goddamn liberal trick! I knew it! God damn it! Conservatives are always so afraid liberals are trying to take away their guns. We don't want your guns. We want your fetuses. Yeah, we want to give your fetuses to illegal immigrants to make it easier for them to take your jobs. Have you even read Comrade Obama's manifesto? Do your research before you judge us. Respect the fucking platform. I'm used to traveling for stand-up comedy and couldn't do that this whole time. So I found myself replaying trips that I took in my head like a sad retiree staring wistfully at sea. And one of the ones that I kept replaying was a trip that my wife and I took to Kauai. Before we had kids, before we were married, it was just one of those perfect trips. And I kept replaying one exact day. We were walking down the beach at sunset. going to a very scenic point where all the tourists go and watch the sunset and take their photograph. Couldn't have been more idyllic. We're holding hands. The water's brushing up against our ankles, just in love, in Kauai. And we noticed a man higher up on the shore where the property line meets the shoreline. And he was at the edge of his property, and he was a very strikingly handsome man. So much so that my wife and I both were just like, wow, get a load of this dude. He was swirling a glass of something red and delicious looking, and he was smoking a little cigarillo, just a debonair individual. And then we looked closer, and we realized, about at the same time, it was 100% Pierce Brosnan. James Bond, the actor Pierce Brosnan. We looked it up. He has a house in the area. He's very involved in the community. We encountered Pierce Brosnan in his native environment. We encountered Pierce Brosnan in his colonized environment. And you guys are picturing Pierce Brosnan in your heads right now. And I gotta tell you something, it's not enough. Brosnan it up a little bit. Sprinkle a little bit more bras on whatever image you're conjuring right now. It was electric. He looked like as if Pierce Brosnan dressed up as Pierce Brosnan for Halloween. Just optimal bras going on. You understand what I'm saying? Liberally belinened. Chest hair spilling out the collar. Just, my God, what a man. And I had to say something to Pierce Brosnan, because I'm that type of person. But the only thing I could think to say in the moment was, we're going to see the sunset. I'm a fucking idiot. We're going to see the sunset. And Pierce Brosnan just pointed over my head in the direction from whence we had came, at the largest moon I've ever seen in my entire life. And I looked it up later. It was, in fact, a super moon that evening. It was a Fiddler on the Roof, film set, comical Hollywood moon. And I just loved that I encountered cool as hell Pierce Brosnan. And I was like, we're going to see the sunset. And he was just like, ah, yes, but what about that moon? But he didn't say anything that kind. He just pointed, because I was like, we're going to see the sunset. And he looked at me like I was a park man. And then I was in my fucking head. We're walking to see the sunset, and I'm just like, I can't believe I said that to James Bond. I'm such a fucking idiot. I'm just like stewing, and my wife is like, calm down, like let it go. This is the most beautiful place. And I was like, no, I'm an idiot. He hates me. We got to the sunset point. My wife was able to calm me down because it was beautiful. She was right. She's always right. The sunset, I let it go. And eventually all the tourists kind of headed off their separate ways, and it boiled down to just my wife and I sitting on that beach, and something came over us, and we went into the water, and we fucked right there in the ocean. And it was awesome. Later that night, I was replaying the day in my head, because, mon Dieu, what a day. I was replaying that specific scene. And I said to my wife, I was like, hey, honey, do you remember earlier when we were having sex in the ocean? She goes, yeah, you've mentioned it about 11 times since we did that. Oh, yeah, earlier when we were having unprotected sex in the water, and it was so cool. Be honest with me. What are you thinking about Pierce Brosnan? She said, how could you tell? And I said, because I was also thinking about Pierce Brosnan. I think we pulled off a 0017. I have a podcast because I'm a comedian, so you have to. My manager called me up one day. He's like, Aaron, you gotta get a podcast. I was like, my name's Adam. He's like, get a fucking podcast! So I have a podcast. It's called The Grolic Saves the World. It was, thank you. It was recently voted best podcast of all time by the Smithsonian and the MacArthur Foundation. It's crazy. They just did a vote, and we won. We did not see that coming. Very cool of them. Over the pandemic, we recorded most of our episodes over Zoom, like I'm sure a lot of you did most of your work over Zoom. It was safer, made sense. But I remember one day in the middle of it, we were getting a little squirrely. Turns out we wanted some human contact. And we're like, why don't we just podcast outdoors in a park somewhere? We have all this cord. We all have our own mics. We could socially distance and podcast outdoors like the pioneers used to do. So we agreed we'd meet at Cheesman Park here in Denver. It's a very central, beautiful park in Denver. We'd agreed we'd meet there to podcast outdoors. And in the text thread, we're like, let's just meet up where 11th Avenue intersects Cheesman. Right where 11th hits Cheesman Park, that's where we'll meet. And so I was the first one to arrive. And I was walking up 11th towards Cheesman. And there was a man standing right there in front of where 11th hits Cheesman, yelling things that popped into his head at everyone who came into the park. He was an unofficial, unpaid park greeter, yelling things at all who entered. And I don't want to judge anyone's station in life. I want to describe this man carefully, but he looked like he was native to the park. He was endemic to Cheesman Park. He was a park man. He was of the park. He was, in fact, a park man. And the park man saw me. And he goes, oh, get a load of this sexy lumberjack-looking motherfucker. Which was all right. Hey, I didn't see that coming. Thanks. Thanks, buddy. Got a little more pep in my step. Thank you for that odd compliment. That's what I thought internally. Externally, I stared straight at the ground, ignored him completely, because he's a fucking park man yelling weird compliments at people, and that's what you do. I was raised in this city, and my parents taught me never to engage with park men, stare straight at the ground, and walk past them and hope the interaction goes away. So he yelled what he yelled at me. I stared right at the ground and walked right past him, but he was standing, essentially, where my friends and I had agreed to meet up. So he goes, oh, get a load of this sexy lumberjack-looking motherfucker. I ignored him, walked 10 yards past him, and then just stood there. And he was shocked. He was in disbelief. He was just staring at me. Like, are you really gonna say nothing? And he goes, yo, did you hear me? I kept staring straight at the ground. He goes, I said you're a sexy lumberjack-looking motherfucker. And now things were escalating. And while I was raised never to engage with park men, the streets taught me if a park man's coming at you with 11 energy, perhaps you can say something to mitigate the situation back down to a 6. So he said, I said you're a sexy looking lumberjack motherfucker. I said, thank you. Kept staring straight at the ground, but said, thank you. And he goes, you're welcome. He hissed it. You're welcome. He goes, I'm just trying to spread the love around. Is that so wrong? And that's when I got really in my head. Because that's exactly what my Peloton life coach Alex Toussaint says. Gotta spread the love around. Hashtag Pella for one. And why can I accept it from the good-looking man on the television screen attached to the stationary bicycle in my basement, but I can't accept it from the man in filthy Jenko jeans with open sores on his face where 11th Avenue intersects with Cheesman Park? Aren't they both just trying to spread the love around? And aren't I the judgmental problem, not recognizing one, but recognizing the other? It's pretty fucked up. So I said, man, there's nothing wrong with that. It's awesome that you're trying to spread the love around, especially in these toxic times. We could use more of that. And he goes, thank you. I said, welcome. And then more people started coming into the park, so he turned and started yelling batshit shit at them. But then there was a lull in traffic, and he looked back at me. My friends still weren't there. I was just standing there waiting. He goes, psst, my dude. Psst, psst. My dude. You listen to me. You need any pussy, dick, weed, coke? I'm your guy. Long story short, I did not podcast with my friends that day. I started a new podcast with that guy. It's called In the Park After Dark with Quick Ricky, and it's fucking terrifying. It's so scary. It is a very scary podcast. There's a reason they want you gone after dusk. Bad shit happens. I didn't see masks being as divisive as they were. I didn't see that coming. In hindsight, of course. America will tear itself apart over anything. But I did not see that coming. Like when this first hit, they were just like, hey, scientists are saying this could help prevent the spread if you wear a mask. They're not sure, but they think it could help. And in every other country, they were like, oh, well, if the scientists say, does the scientist know more than I know? I will focus on what I am good at, which is choosing our wine for dinner tonight. A bon appetit. A mange. It's a French-Italian hybrid. It's not offensive. It's a region you don't know about. In the States, they were like, scientists are saying that they think you should wear masks, not sure, but they think it could help stop the spread. And we were all just like, what the fuck do scientists say? That's impinging on my civil rights. Do you mean infringing? I don't know. I was out on a limb at the beginning of this sentence. That's the smartest thing I've ever even fucking tried to say. Let me ask you this, friend. What the fuck's a scientist know that I don't know? I don't know, Kenny. Science? Fucking science? Your house is underwater because you wouldn't evacuate the hurricane. So what? When it resurfaces, it'll resurface stronger. Not how mobile homes work. Not how mobile homes work at all. Bet I got a bigger truck than you got. Dude, I don't even have a truck. Hunter Biden's a lizard pedophile. All right, I can't do this anymore. I cannot. QAnon's just redneck Dungeons and Dragons, and I don't have time for this shit. I'm a grown-up. There's only one person out there capable of bridging the divide in the United States right now, and I think we all know who it is. It's fucking Jeff Foxworthy. Best comic of my or any generation. Do you remember Jeff Foxworthy had that bit? You might be a redneck if... And then he would just tear into the delightful foibles of Southern working class. We need that shit again. But he's got to update it for 2021. I want Foxworthy back out here being like, you might have stormed the Capitol if your name's Chris and you sell cars and you say your company's name is Chris's Cars with 2 Ks, you might have stormed the Capitol. If you haven't had sex in 11 years and for some reason you think that's all of women's fault, you might could have stormed the Capitol. You might could have stormed it. Only Foxworthy could unpack that shit. When I watched them storming the Capitol, I couldn't take my eyes off it. I watched all day long. And the one thing I kept hoping was that I wish I could watch this in the presence of people who have pulled off successful coups. It's like former dictators and generals from like Mali and Sudan and Bolivia and El Salvador watching like the BBC World News feed of that shit. They're like, all right, they're doing it in America. You guys are in, awesome. Smart move, having no reinforcements whatsoever despite weeks of online chatter. Wonder how that happened. Anyway, let's get to business. Spill some fucking blood. You're in the building. First thing you gotta do, spill some blood, make a statement. Why is everyone filming YouTube footage on their cell phones? You're not gonna want any record of this. Let's get to the Senate floor and let's burn the fucking votes. Why is he picking up a lectern? You can have any lectern you want in the new regime, all right? Eyes on the goddamn prize. Don't walk into Nancy Pelosi's office. No, don't take a photograph. What the fuck are you doing? You're in the fucking building. Finish the job. Why is he dressed like Sasquatch? Actually, that's pretty good psychological warfare. We might use that later. That's fucking terrifying. That's very scary. That guy gets a pass. Effective tactics. Realize I've been up here making a lot of political hot takes. It's not gonna stop. Here's another one. I think raspberries are bullshit. Fight me! I think raspberries are fucking bullshit. Name one other fruit, costs $5.99, goes bad before you get to your car. You can't do it. You can't name one other fruit that does that. It's strictly the raspberry. Go home, start putting your groceries away. All of a sudden, there's a carpet sample on the top of your carton of raspberries. Like, wow, I don't remember that when I purchased this not 1 hour ago. The only way it makes sense to eat raspberries is to grab them off the shelf, sit on the floor of the produce aisle, and shove as many in your mouth as you can before they spoil, and you still won't be able to do it. And the kid at the register checking you out is like, did you open these? You're like, you goddamn right I did. And they still turned on me. You'll get $1, and you're lucky to get that. Do you guys know how to spell raspberries? Raspberries. There's a fucking P in there. You're rasping at straws. If you think I'm gonna spell it that way, I'll tell you that much right now. I think mangoes are a lie. Mangoes are a goddamn lie. Nobody knows how to cut a mango. No one. Every mango purchase should come with an internship beneath a Caribbean fruit vendor who teaches you what the fuck you're doing so you don't machete hack that thing to pieces in your kitchen, yielding 1 ounce of precious mango meat. I've taken to buying dried mango. That's $9.99 a bag. That's not sustainable. I can't keep that up. And another thing. It's hard to be told that what you do for a living isn't essential. And I get it. I'm not a frontline worker. I'm not bagging your bullshit raspberries and mangoes, but I always considered art to be somewhat essential, yet for the past year and a half, I've had to stare my own inessentiality right in the face, and I gotta tell you guys, that is a cold drink of water in the morning. And tell you what else, I don't think this is the fucking last pandemic. This is maybe just the first of fucking many. Every time I just gotta stop doing what I'm doing, feeling completely useless, that's some bullshit. And how do you know when an avocado is ripe? I squeeze, and I squeeze, and I squeeze. And sometimes I feel like the avocado's just squeezing me, man. I'm beginning to think this is about more than fruit. I will tell you one more joke, and then I will go sleep in a vacant lot, and by the time I arise, it will be a mixed-use condo. It is my best trick. It is, in fact, my closer. The last gig I did on the road, pre-pandemic, pre-Quar, was in Indiana, because I'm doing God's work. And after the weekend, my opener that weekend was driving me to the airport, and we passed through a town called Martinsville, Indiana. And my opener said, "This town sucks." And I was like, "Yeah, we're in fucking Indiana. I know. And she's like, "No, this exceptionally sucks. It's, this town has a huge Ku Klux Klan presence." And I was like, "Oh yeah. Now that you mention it, looking out the window, everybody looks pretty inbred around here." She goes, "They're so awful. You know they try to target kids very young in this town?" I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And she told me that what the KKK does in this town is they'll put their literature, their hateful pamphlets and shit, in Ziploc bags, and then they'll tape it to stop signs and street lamps that are near playgrounds deliberately in the hopes that kids find them. And I was like, "Ooh, that is awful." She goes, "It gets even worse. They put candy in the bags to entice the kids further to these bags." So I asked the only question I could think of in the moment, which was, what type of candy? And she said, Werther's Originals. Which I think we can all agree. If one type of candy were to be the Ku Klux Klan of candies, it would 100% be Werther's Originals. Werther's Originals. The hard candy handed down from grandfather to grandson like a dirty little racist secret. Werther's Originals. Invented in 1919 in Germany by a man named Gustav. What happened in 1919? Oh, I don't know. Just Hitler got rejected from art school, starting the whole goddamn thing. Illuminati, lizard people, Denver International Airport. This shit goes all the way to the fucking top, man. That was my first thought. I was like, of course, it all started with the Werthers. I knew it. Just ranting and raving, but then I was like, Adam, do not be like the idiot Klan. Do your research. Calm down. And I looked it up. And when we think of Werther's Originals, I think we all think of the original Werther's Original. The toffee-flavored Werther's Originals that you would see in dish bowls on old people's coffee tables. Do you guys know there's a whole spectrum of Werther's Original flavors? They got a Werther's Original with chocolate baked into the center. They got an apple cinnamon Werther's Original. They have a cacao-flavored Werther's Original. It's not Werther's Original's fault that the Klan adopted them as their candy of choice. It's just one of those terribly serendipitous things that happens to be true in this world. So the next time I go to Indiana, I'm getting every flavor of Werther's Originals. And I'm going to Martinsville, and I'm gonna find those Ziploc bags, and I'm gonna put all the Werther's Originals in there. And I'm gonna invite kids from nearby playgrounds to take a blind taste test. And I'll be like, here, which one do you prefer? The seething taste of pure hatred that is original Werther's Original? Or this delicious medley of exotic flavors blending harmoniously in your mouth that is all the other flavors of Werther Original? And while I'm doing that, maybe I'll put some other candy in those bags as well. Maybe I'll throw a Twix in there, some Skittles, some Sour Patch Kids, a Kit Kat. And I'll let those kids know that there's a beautiful rainbow spectrum of candy out there, a lot of which doesn't even identify as Werther's Originals. And in a lot of ways, they're much better fucking candies. And while I'm doing that, maybe I'll just have some alternative literature as well. Maybe I'll drop some documents from the NAACP and the ACLU and Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ causes. And I'll let the kids know that there's all sorts of doctrines and ideologies out there, and it's up to them, the future of this country, to sort through them and weed out the ones that are hateful and divisive in favor of the ones that are loving and inclusive and tolerant. But even once I've done that, you know there's gonna be one little hick piece of shit kid who doesn't care at all. He's gonna be like, I don't give a shit what you say, dude. Werther's Originals is one true flavor. It's good enough for my daddy, it's good enough for me. You can go ahead and get fucked. You can go on ahead and get fucked. And I'll be like, you little fucking white trash piece of shit. Have you looked up the recipe of original Werther's Original? Let me tell you what's in that sucker. You got milk, you got butter, you got cream, you got salt, and then what else do you have? Brown and white sugar, mixing deliciously in your mouth as we speak. So the next time you want to step to me, Kid Rock, do some research before you step out of the trailer park. What I'm trying to say is that a very hurtful article is going to come out making a lot of accusations about why I was giving kids candy on playgrounds in Indiana. And what I keep telling my court-appointed attorney, it's about creating a teachable fucking moment. I gotta get out of here, you guys. I'll see you in a vacant lot nearby around the corner. Find your own vacant lot, everyone. We need science that people can get behind. Science that the whole country can embrace. Like I recently read an amazing new study. Science just revealed all of a sudden that octopus punch fish. We never knew. All this time, we thought that octopus and fish hunted harmoniously together along the coral reef. The octopus, the fish, BFFs of the sea. And then science up and dropped a video, fucking dropped a new mixtape of an octopus curling its tentacled arm up and fucking punching a fish right out of its way. Which is crazy, because I didn't even know that octopus were from Massachusetts. I had no idea. I never knew that. But the octopus the whole time, fucking Brady's a god! I believe in science. I have no problem wearing a mask if I'm told to wear a fucking mask. But I'll tell you what you're not gonna fool me on. It's this whole hand sanitizer racket. I'm not buying it. As soon as this pandemic started, all of a sudden, everywhere you went, a bunch of mysterious, white, labelless bottles started appearing, and we were told to wash our hands with it. No questions asked. You started reading about distilleries that couldn't welcome customers in anymore, so they started making hand sanitizer with their alcohol to help contribute to the cause. You think anybody's checking that shit? You think they're sending that to the FDA? There's no quality control on that, and we're all just rubbing it on our hands. And you know how you know that I'm right? Because every once in a while, you go to get some hand sanitizer, and you get a real wet one. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You're expecting a very nice little dollop, perhaps a toothpaste pearl-sized dollop to rub across your hands, and then it just gacks all over your jorts. Your nicest jorts. Your going out social jorts. Three years from now, we're all gonna have beat the coronavirus and lost our hands to the sanitizer. And that's how they became the stump people. Those who were able to fetishize the stumps truly thrived, while the rest of us shook our useless nubs at a god we knew was dead long ago. Went extinct because we couldn't figure out how to open our phones with those stumps. Apple tried to rush stump recognition technology, but it was useless. Their engineers had the same goddamn stumps. So lacking the constant access to social media for dopamine rushes, we all suffered massive aneurysms and crashed our e-scooters into oncoming traffic. And that was the end of civilization. Grandpapa, what were cell phones? Oh, cell phones were electronic devices that we held in our hands that we thought would bring us closer together, but actually just wedged us further apart. Ah. Did they come out around the same time that your comedy became poignant as opposed to funny? They really did, and it cost me a lot of work, but I made some very good points.